From stories across the globe to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. Good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
And I am Dishan Veerakon, and here are your headlines for tonight. A special plan is to be implemented to have Sri Lankan migrant workers who are at risk repatriated. Another location discovered in the Aryampathy area at Batiklo, where Zaharan Hashim conducted extremist sermons. The government issues clarifications on several fake news items circulating on social media. The number of fully recovered COVID-19 patients stands at 240. The IDH hospital gets a new nurses' quarters. Public and private sector essential services to be functional from Monday. Guidelines issued on health and security. The African region faces the risk of seeing 190,000 COVID-19 related deaths within a year. Now in your top story for tonight, the Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Relations Ravinath Arya Singh says that the government has directed its attention in repatriating Sri Lankan migrant workers as well as students stranded overseas on priority basis. A new cabinet decision was reached this week regarding the repatriation of stranded Sri Lankans and migrant workers. Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Relations Ravinath Arya Singh made these remarks in an exclusive interview with the national television yesterday.
The Foreign Ministry's view always has been that repatriation, when it started, should be done on the basis of maximum vulnerability. It is on that basis that we recommended that South Asian students be prioritized, and that was concluded only about a week ago. Now several other groups of students also have been brought back and are being brought back, but yesterday's cabinet paper's significance was re-emphasizing something we said in our very original cabinet paper over a month ago, that foreign migrant workers are a category which are in dire straits in certain countries, and that therefore in parallel with any student movements that we must also pay attention and get back those who are in greatest vulnerability. And in this context, I see the Maldives, where a lot of Sri Lankans want to come back, particularly about 1,000 to 1,005 living in Malay Island are the most vulnerable. That is one. Then in places like Kuwait, in addition to whatever vulnerability from COVID, there is also an amnesty declared by the Kuwaiti government, and we are conscious that there is anxiety on the part of foreign employees that if they lose this amnesty, they will have greater difficulty coming out. The Kuwaiti government at this point is going to fly them back to Sri Lanka. So today, in fact, the foreign minister, with the strength of yesterday's cabinet paper, is going to engage, approval of cabinet, is going to engage with his Kuwaiti counterpart and will be discussing a process by which Sri Lankans in Kuwait can respect that amnesty offer. Our perception is that we must start the process, but that the Kuwait government is very conscious that we can't bring all the people who are wanting to come at this point. Therefore, we will have to, between the two governments, have some negotiation on how we face that out. Then there is also the problems of Sri Lankans, expatriates, workplaces like Bangladesh. Again, a very sensitive place where COVID is spreading at a very rapid rate. There are more than 1,000 people there, and out of those 1,000, I think about 300 and plus women and children. So we have to find a way how we can reduce that number facing vulnerability and eventually try to ensure that they face done away and totally eliminated.
In the meantime, a special chanting of Pirits took place on Vesak full moon Poya Day at the Horana Olabadua Javardhana Rama Purana Raja Mahavihara to invoke blessings on all people in Sri Lanka and around the world affected by coronavirus. The meritorious act took place under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. It was telecast live on Rupavahini. The President, upon arriving at the Viharya, met with Chief Incumbent Venerable Uduve Hema Lokathera and engaged in a brief cordial discussion. Thereafter, engaging in religious observances, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa venerated the sacred relics and obtained blessings. The President also placed a special note to mark the state Vesak festival. The President, in keeping with the custom, made the invitation for the casket of relics to be displayed for veneration and for the all-night Pirit chanting to commence. The Mahasangha, arriving from several areas in the island, chanted Seth Pirit and were led by the Chief Adhikarana Sanghanayaka of the Colombo Navakorale, Venerable Dr. Divya Gahaya Sassithera, and the Chief Prelate of the Lanka Ramaya at Milano in Italy, Venerable Olabadue Dhammikatera. Secretary to the Ministry of Cultural Affairs, Bandula Harishchandra, Commissioner General of Buddhist Religious Activities, Sunanda Karya Perumal, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Dr. Nihal Jayatilaka, and Director General Ajit Naragala, and Chairman of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, Jagat Wickramasinghe, were also a part of the event.
Now, devotees were deprived of the opportunity to celebrate Vesak on a grand scale this year. In the wake of the pandemic, all devotees engaged in Amisa and Pratipatti Puja at their residences, giving foremost place to good health by following health guidelines. As Vesak full moon Poya Day approaches, the entire country lights up with Vesak glow every year as devotees with much enthusiasm contribute to organize pandals, dansal and decorations with Vesak lanterns. However, due to the ongoing pandemic, such preparations could not take place this year. At Viharas, prelates organized various religious observances whilst adhering to health guidelines. Hundreds of thousands of devotees usually flock to Colombo during the Vesak week. However, this year the city of Colombo remains deserted. Although amidst the absence of crowds, beautiful decorations have adorned various locations in the Colombo city. The police, the tri-forces and the civil security force, whilst obtaining the contribution of the youth, have designed Vesak decorations. Now the 2019-2020 Sri Pada pilgrimage season ended last night. After special religious rites that were conducted last morning, customarily at the Sri Pada Udamaluva, the casket of relics, the statue of God Saman and jewels were taken in procession to the Nallathane Buddhist Center this morning by army personnel of the Lakshapana camp under the exhortation of Chief Incumbent of the Sri Pada Vihara, Venerable Bengamme Sri Dhammadinna Thera. The casket of relics, the statue of God Saman and the jewels were placed at a special repository and then taken along the Bhagavantalava Balanguda road to the Galpottawala Sri Pada Rajamaha Vihara, at which the special puja were conducted and the sacred items were reposed until the commencement of the next Sri Pada season. When the relic casket is taken to the Nallathane Buddhist Center, devotees flock in large numbers. However, due to the current pandemic, the closure of the Sri Pada season took place without the participation of devotees.
විඳින් ඔබේ දම්සා.
Moving on to more local stories, Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena emphasizes again that the request made by the Presidential Secretary for salaries of the month of May are part of the salaries to be donated to facilitate payments granted for the widowed and orphaned. It is a private plea. The Minister expressed these views at a media briefing held at the Government Information Department today. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said it clearly states that this is a private appeal, therefore it is not a notice issued by the government or government information. Dr. Gunawardena explained that donations were encouraged to be made to the Widows and Orphans Fund by pointing out the actual situation to the country. The minister accuses certain social media sites for attempting to point accusations at the Presidential Secretary. Dr. Gunawardena says there prevails a sacrosanct right to make such a plea from the working population, and if any individual objects, such individuals are free to not make any contribution. Meanwhile, Dr. Gunawardena says content circulating on social media that approval has been received for vehicles worth 300 million rupees to be purchased for the ministry are totally false. Issuing a release, the Department of Government Information emphasizes that news circulating that cabinet approval has been received to pay an additional fuel allowance for ministers and former state ministers is also false. On social media, with regard to the private plea made by the Presidential Secretary to the heads of state institution, an application form to obtain contributions is also circulating. The release issued by the Department of Government Information emphasizes that the government has not issued such an application. The police headquarters state around 49,000 curfew violators have been arrested so far. Island-wide operations to arrest curfew violators are further underway. Within the 24-hour period from 6 a.m. yesterday to 6 a.m. today, 859 curfew violators have been arrested, whilst 206 vehicles have been seized by the police. The total number of curfew violators arrested since the imposition of curfew is 48,879 persons, whilst the total number of vehicles seized by the police is 12,703. Curfew is in place island-wide with effect from 8 p.m. on the 6th of May until 5 a.m. on Monday. Curfew in the Colombo, Gampha, Kalutara and Puttalam districts, which have been identified as high-risk areas, is in force until further notice, restoring organizational activities and day-to-day public life whilst curfew is in place commences on Monday. Thereby, organizations of both the public and private sectors in the high-risk areas need to be kept open from Monday. Public transport services will be operational to facilitate passengers heading for work only. DIG Ajit Rohan said, unlike usual days, everyone will not be able to arrive at public places, as it is only those who are heading for work who are permitted, whilst others need to remain at home. The DIG further explains, should a summoning be received by an employee from a place of employment, such an employee can avail the public transport service accompanied by a document that proves the employment. The DIG reiterates that others should remain at home, and if they are to exit their homes, it should be according to the last digit of their national identity card number. Thereby, on Monday, those whose national identity card numbers end with digit 1 and digit 2 are permitted to exit their homes, but they cannot wander everywhere. They can only proceed to the pharmacy or grocery closest to their residences.
The pharmacy
A special health and security plan is underway on continuing essential services of both the public and private sectors from Monday. All public and private sector organizations will be disinfected before recommencing services. Private sector organizations have been notified to commence at 10 a.m. The Department of Railways and Sri Lanka Transport Board will provide transportation facilities for employees of both sectors. Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government, SATRH requests of government servants to be attired in comfortable clothing and refrain from wearing jewellery and other accessories. The Ministry Secretary explains that there isn't a set duty time, and once the day's work is complete upon the discretion of the head of the organisation, employees can leave early if necessary. He further states if factories and private sector organisations are working in shifts, they can continue in that manner. For example, he stated, if Even if curfew is to be imposed at 8 p.m. and a shift is to end at 10 p.m., employees working such a shift can continue working until the end of the shift, which is 10 p.m. The President has given the relevant instructions to the IGP in this regard. The Ministry Secretary states that upon the instructions of the President, work will have to proceed as before from the 11th of May. He added the decision was to especially recommence essential services from the 11th. Minister Secretary S. Hettiarachchi also stated the number of employees to be summoned to work can be decided by the heads of the organizations. The Ministry Secretary explained in this respect instructions have been given to try as much as possible to get employees residing in Colombo for offices in Colombo. This will reduce the necessity to use public transport. He also stated all state institutions have been advised to provide basic health facilities. He advised that pregnant and lactating mothers should not be summoned to work and that online methods can be continued to perform work.
In the meantime, the support of many groups is being received in favor of the measures taken by the government to control the spread of the coronavirus. Thereby, the deposits of the COVID-19 Healthcare and Social Security Fund have currently exceeded 900 million rupees. The Sri Lanka Foreign Services Employees Association has donated 2.8 million rupees to the COVID-19 Healthcare and Social Security Fund. The donation was presented to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa recently. Minister Dinesh Gunawardena was also present. The Sabaragamu Provincial Council Fund has donated 1 million rupees. Janaka Ranawaka of the Ratnapura has contributed with 100,000 rupees and the Ratnapura District Union of Medical Officers of Health has contributed 155,000 rupees. The cheques were presented to the President by Provincial Governor Tikiri Kobbakadua. The Retired Employees Union of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has donated 500,000 rupees, whilst the Buddhist Association of Sri Lanka Telecom has donated 300,000 rupees to the COVID-19 Healthcare and Social Security Fund. The President's Media Division states with the direct deposit of 3.5 million by Lanka Sugar Private Limited, deposits into the fund have exceeded 900 million rupees. All donations are credited to the special bank account maintained at the Bank of Ceylon, which is 85737373. All donations credited to the fund from legitimate sources are exempted from taxes and currency regulations. Deposits can also be made through cheques or telegraph money transfers.
On to more stories here at home. As a special friendly gesture from India in the ongoing Vesak week, a 12.5-ton gift consignment of essential medicines and medical items arrived in Colombo yesterday from India at a special flight. And meanwhile, another consignment of medical equipment donated by China will arrive in Sri Lanka tomorrow. The gift consignment, the fourth in recent weeks, underscores the vision of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi enunciated in his video conference with SAARC leaders on 15th March 2020 to jointly fight COVID-19 pandemic. 3 consignment of essential life-saving medicines and medical gloves from India were handed over to Sri Lanka last month by a special flight. The medical consignment reached Colombo with the High Commissioner Designate of India to Sri Lanka, H. Gopal Bagle, on board the same flight. Responding to the urgent need of Sri Lankan side fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, Chinese governments donated another consignment of medical equipment. 30,000 PCR test kits and 15,000 disposable coverall, which is part of the third batch of medical supplies donation by the Chinese government to Sri Lanka, will be air freighted from Shanghai to later today. Chinese Embassy in Colombo says remaining medical supplies of the batch will be transported at its earliest possible schedule. Moving on to more stories, the Research and Development Center of the Ministry of Defence has introduced several new inventions to assist the ongoing measures to control COVID-19 virus. These new inventions were exhibited at the Defence Ministry recently. A remote control robot that monitors the condition of a patient, a disinfecting chamber, a disinfecting corridor and 2 mobile disinfecting machines were among the new inventions on display at the exhibition. Defence Secretary, retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne, also visited the exhibition. The Defence Secretary gifted a prize to a student of the Ambedipitiya President's College by the name of Tejana Devmina, who had invented a remote-controlled robotic device which can assist in minimizing the risk medical staff are exposed to when treating COVID-19 infected patients. 3 auto robots manufactured by Atlas Auxiliaire were handed over to the Director General of Health Services, Consultant Dr. Anil Jasinghe. The engineering faculty at the University of Ruhuna handed over a robot that can obtain patient information to the Karapiti Hospital. It has been designed by a group of graduates and students at the Hapagal Engineering Faculty of the University of Ruhuna.
On taking a look at your weather report, the Met Department forecasts heavy falls in several places tonight as well. A rainfall of around 100 millimeters is expected in certain districts. Heavy falls of around 100 millimeters of rain can be expected in the Sabaragamuwa, Uva, Central, North Central and Southern provinces and certain areas in the Kalutara district. Showers or thunder showers can occur during the morning hours in the western and southern provinces and along the coastal areas of the Puttalam, Mana and Jaffna districts. The general public is advised to take necessary precautions to safeguard against damages caused by lightning and temporarily localized strong winds. A large parapet wall of a residence in the Dambawinda area along the Haputale road in Valimada collapsed owing to the heavy rains experienced in the Valimada area last evening. The debris caused obstructions to traffic. Due to the heavy rain, a 3-story building near the Uma Oya along the Valimada Badula road had reportedly collapsed with the foundation. However, no injuries were reported. Now in more stories here at home, the number of fully recovered COVID-19 patients who have been discharged from hospitals currently stands at 240. Within the past 24 hours, 8 patients were discharged upon recovering fully. 575 patients are undergoing further treatment. 7 of the patients discharged today underwent treatment at the Angoda IDH hospital, whilst the other underwent treatment at the East Colombo Base Hospital. Director General of Health Services, Consultant Dr. Anil Jasinghe says 27 newly confirmed cases were reported yesterday, out of which 25 are security force personnel, whilst one of them is a 1-year-old child of a serviceman. Dr. Jasinghe also stated the other patient was identified from a group that arrived in the country yesterday from Dubai. The patient had been admitted to the Negombo hospital with fever, and the PCR testing that was conducted at the hospital confirmed that he had contracted the virus. The number of PCR tests that were conducted yesterday was 1,553. Director General of Health Services, Consultant Dr. Anil Jasinghe says, therefore it is clear that those arriving from abroad need to be sent to quarantine. Dr. Jasinghe further explains, although the PCR test confirms whether the virus has been contracted, depending on the case, the PCR testing may not show the infection. Therefore, it is mandatory for such individuals to be sent to quarantine. Dr. Jasinghe cautions, as the country is gradually opening up, a sort of risk placed before us with regard to the possibility of the virus re-entering the country from those arriving in the country from overseas. He notes, however, the country cannot continue in lockdown as social and economic conditions need to be maintained continuously. Therefore, Dr. Jasinghe reiterates that public and private sector institutions, businesses and public must act on the guidelines given by the health units.
ඔබගේ ව්‍යාපාරයේ එසේ අනුගමනය නොකරොත් එහෙම ඔබට නොදිනුවත්වම ඔබට ඔබේ සේවකයන්ට එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔබේ සේවය ලබා ගන්න එන අයට මේ විස බීජය ඇතිවන්නට පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව මෙතෙක් සුරක්ෂිත රටක් ලෙස තබා ගත්තා වගේ ඉදිරියටත් ඒ සුරක්ෂිතභාවය තහවුරු කර ගැනීම අප ඔබ සියලු දෙනා සතු වගකීමක් බවට පත් වෙනවා. මේ 1553න් 400ක් පමණ මේ ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ කරනු ලැබූ පරීක්ෂණ, ඒ වගේම 300කට අධික සංඛ්‍යාවක් නිරෝධායන මධ්‍යස්ථානවල කරනු ලැබූ පරීක්ෂණ. අනිකුත් පරීක්ෂණ නාවික හමුදාව ආශ්‍රිතවත්, ඒ වගේම කොළඹ මහනගර සභාවේ, ඒ වගේම දිවයිනේ විවිධ ප්‍රදේශවලත් සිදු කළා තියෙනවා.
Biosamples were obtained from areas in Colombo today as well to detect COVID-19 infected patients. Thereby, 80 samples, which included biosamples and blood samples, were obtained. At the quarantine centers run by the Army and the Navy, 286 individuals who completed their quarantine were discharged today. This included 101 individuals from the Poonani Quarantine Center, 36 individuals from the Kandakadu Quarantine Center, 31 individuals from the Katukeliyawa Quarantine Center, 98 individuals from the Sampul Quarantine Center, and 20 individuals from the Oluville Quarantine Center. A special program has been launched under the leadership of Sri Lanka Insurance to assure the health security of employers and employees when public and private sector institutions recommence on Monday. Thereby, the donation of 10,000 litres of disinfectant liquid amongst provincial councils, municipal councils, urban councils and other government institutions took place today. This initiative has been launched jointly by Sri Lanka Insurance, the Petroleum Corporation and Litrogas. Sri Lanka Insurance also donated disinfectant liquid and face masks for 10,400 economic development officers who are serving the public under the current risky situation. The new nurses' quarters of the Angoda IDH hospital was declared open today under the patronage of Minister Pavitra Wanyarachi. 32 nursing officers can be accommodated in the new quarters. Construction work was carried out with labour contributed by the Directorate of Air Force Civil Engineering and with technical support from the Sri Lanka Ports Authority. President of the East Coast Foundation, which is an association founded by the Old Boys of Royal College in the USA, Dr. Sukumal Nagendran, sponsored the project under which 50 million rupees was utilised. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Minister Pavitra Wanyarachi said, if not for the President, the efforts taken to control the COVID-19 would have failed. She also focused on the leadership given to the government by the Prime Minister. The Minister highly appreciated the contribution of the specialist doctors at the IDH hospital and the hospital staff.
Another location where the Easter Sunday bomber Zahran Hashim conducted sermons in the Aryampati area in Batika has been discovered. The CID and the police special task force visited the location today, which also has a tourist rest house in the premises. The location came under investigations upon information revealed during the interrogations of Shahid Abdul Haq and Sadiq Abdul Haq, who are two brothers currently in custody in connection with the Easter Sunday attacks and extremist activities. They were arrested a few days after the Easter Sunday attacks whilst in hiding at a shoe shop in Gampala.
And that's a wrap of tonight's Primetime News. Until we meet again next time, do take care, stay safe and good night.
Good night.